They'll tell you the secret to a long life is in a pill, in a laboratory somewhere, where men in white coats are trying to solve what my grandfather already knew. I am 77 years old. That is near long life so far. I have buried people I loved. I have outlived an entire chapter of my own life. And I have gotten up the next morning, and the morning after that, and the morning after that. The secret is not in a bottle and never was. It was in the small things. These are the 5 habits I never broke. 5 things I chose as a young man and kept choosing for the rest of my life. I hope they find you. Before we begin, if something in these words does something in you, if it reminds you of your father or your grandfather, or the man still becoming, share it.
First habit, I've never stopped asking questions. Somewhere around middle age, most men decide they already know enough. Not in a dramatic way, not with any kind of declaration. It happens quietly, the way most things that matter happen quietly, like a window, fogging over from the inside. They stop asking, they stop wondering. They settle into the comfortable certainty of what they already believe, and they stay there, safe, warm, and slowly closing. I watched it happen to men I knew, good men, intelligent men, men who had once been hungry for the world, and I made a decision, early enough that I can no longer remember exactly when, that I would not let that happen to me. I would stay a student for as long as I had breath in me. I remember a particular afternoon. I must have been 63, maybe 64. I found myself sitting across from a young man. Couldn't have been older than 22. He was trying to explain to me a new kind of music, something that sounded to these old ears of mine like organized chaos. Now, I had a choice in that moment, and I knew I had a choice. I could have smiled, nodded, in the way that means you've already stopped listening. Instead, I leaned forward, and I said, "Tell me more." We talked for nearly 3 hours that afternoon. I walked home a different man from the one who had arrived. That feeling, that quiet electricity of a new idea, it was the same feeling I had at 7 years old, when someone first told me the stars had names. That feeling never grows old, not if you refuse to let it. The man who stops asking questions begins slowly to close, and a closed mind is a quiet kind of dying. So keep asking, keep leaning in, stay delightfully, just stubbornly, joyfully unsatisfied with what you think you already know. The world is enormous. You have barely scratched the surface, and that is one of the most wonderful things about being alive. Second habit, I protected my stillness. The world has always been loud, long before screens, long before the ceaseless noise of every opinion, every hour of every day. The world was always trying, relentlessly, to pull you out of yourself. Most men let it. They wake up and immediately reach for something outside themselves. A voice, a headline, someone else's urgency, anything to avoid the discomfort of being alone with their own thoughts. I understood very early, perhaps from watching certain men I admired, that if you did not protect your quiet, no one else would protect it for you. There was a season of my life, I was in my late 30s, early 40s, when everything demanded something from me at once. Work that couldn't wait, a family that needed me, obligations that arrived before I'd finished the ones from the day before. The pressure wasn't dramatic, it was
simply constant, and constant pressure wears a man down in ways that dramatic crises do not. But I had my 20 minutes every morning, before the sun had fully decided to rise, before the day had a chance to reach for me. I claimed 20 minutes for myself, just me and the stillness. Some mornings I sat in silence, some mornings I wrote, some mornings I prayed, quietly, in the way that feels less like asking and more like returning. And some morning I simply sat and remembered that I was still alive and understood that this was itself extraordinary. The world changed its shape a dozen times, but the 20 minutes remained. The mind needs emptiness, the way the lungs need air. It cannot run on full, forever. Guard your quiet, return to it when you drift, and understand that in those still mornings, when it looks like you're doing nothing, you are
doing everything.
If these words are finding you at the right moment, consider sharing this with one man you care about. A friend, a son, a brother. Sometimes the right words sent to the right person can change the direction of a life. Habit 3, I kept my body moving gently and without expectations. Let me be honest with you before I tell you this one. I was never an athlete, never the strongest man, never fast. I did not have the kind of body of a man envied. I had no discipline anyone would have called remarkable, but I moved every single day. Not dramatically, not in pursuit of a number on a scale, simply faithfully, because a man who stops moving begins to stop. There was a road near where I live, ordinary road, nothing remarkable about it. Trees on both sides, changing color with the seasons, a slight hill I complained about for 4 years before I came to love it. I walked in grief, the kind that makes every step feel like a separate negotiation with yourself. That road didn't solve anything, but it reminded me the world was still turning, there was still life. It reminded me that I was still part of the living world. I walked because it made me feel like myself again. Being alive, even on an ordinary morning, was something worth noticing. You don't need to be fast. You don't need to be impressive. You just need to keep moving. This body of yours has carried you through everything, every story, every burden, every ordinary day.
Habit 4. I chose to forgive before it was too late. Of all 5 habits, this is the one that surprised me most. Not because I didn't understand forgiveness. I had heard it spoken of my entire life. I understood it perfectly well, in theory. Living it was an entirely different matter, because here is what they don't always tell you. For a man who has learned to equate strength with endurance, letting go of a wound can feel like losing. It can feel like surrender, like weakness. I know. I felt that. For longer than I care to admit. I carried anger once. Real anger. The kind that has a specific face attached to it. A specific moment. You return to against your will. I carried it for years. Long enough that it stopped feeling like something I was holding and started feeling like something I was made of. And the strange thing, the thing I didn't see for a long time, was that I was the only one still carrying it. The man I was angry at had long since moved on. The world had long since rearranged itself, but inside me, in some room of my chest I hadn't thought to examine. The wound was still fresh, still bleeding, quietly, into everything. One evening, I became tired. Not dramatically tired, just tired. Tired of carrying something that had already happened. And so, I let it go. Not because he deserves it, but because, and I deserved to put it down. I want you to hear that clearly, man to man. Forgiveness is not a gift you give to someone else. It is a gift you give to yourself. It is the decision made by a strong man, not a weak one, to stop paying with your present for something that happened in your past. Forgiveness gave me back decades. Whatever you are holding on to, brother, or Brit, whatever old wound, I'm asking you, gently, as a man who has
Been there, to consider setting it down, not for him, for you. Peace, real peace, costs nothing except the willingness to let go.
Habit 5, I stay tethered to something larger than myself. Call it what your own life has taught you to call it: faith, purpose, the sacred, a quiet and unshakable conviction. This brief, bewildering, occasionally heartbreaking, frequently astonishing life is not merely the sum of what a man accumulates. I never let go of that thread, not even in the years when it felt impossibly thin. I held the thread and the thread held me. There were years when that thread felt dangerously thin. Years when I looked honestly at the world and found it very hard to locate the grace. I did not always have answers. I did not always have comfort. Some nights, I had nothing but the thread itself. So I kept looking, and I found it in small things when the large things would not yield it. In the unguarded laughter of a grandchild who has not yet learned to hold anything back. In the kindness of a stranger who holds a door open and asks nothing in return. In the quiet quality of life on a completely ordinary afternoon that felt like something more. Men who age with genuine grace share one quality. They believe their life has meaning, not fame, not recognition, meaning. And meaning is rarely loud, rarely dramatic. It is usually quiet and deeply personal. Find your thread if you have not already. And if you've lost it for time, which is human and no cause for shame, look for it in the small things first. It is usually there, patient as light, waiting for you to look back in its direction. So there are 5 habits. 77 years, one old man, still here. Still grateful to have something worth saying to you. None of these habits are extraordinary. None of them will make headlines. What made them matter was not their novelty. It was the constancy, the quiet, unglamorous, unrewarded decision to return to them again and again and again. On the days it felt easy, on the days it felt impossible, on the days it felt like nothing at all, those are the days that matter most. Curiosity, stillness, movement, forgiveness, meaning. I don't know how many mornings I have left. None of us do. But I know this: every morning that arrives is a small and unrepeatable gift. I've tried to meet my mornings with open hands, not clutching, not rushing past them. Just present, just grateful, genuinely, quietly, deeply grateful. I hope you find your way to that place, not someday, now. And if even one sentence found you today at the right moment, then this old voice still has something left to give, and that is more than enough for me. If something in this conversation spoke to you, please pass it on. These ideas don't need to stay here. And if you'd like more of these conversations, or a little of the slow kind, the honest kind, you know where to find us.